Hi, morning. I'm Barry Cunningham. I'm a publisher out of the UK. I've kind of worked a lot in children's books, but probably most famous for being the first publisher of Harry Potter.
Yeah. Okay. How long have you been publishing?
Well, I started in 1977, a long time ago. I originally worked in the music business, but I've always loved books, and I've always loved that kind of connection between books and readers. And I started out working for Penguin, for Puffin. And I'd like to tell you that I started out in a very glamorous editorial job, but I didn't. I started out in a promotion job. And actually, my very first job, and this is all good, because anybody wanting to start in any business should be ready to do anything. So I started out as a giant costumed character. I dressed up as a reading bird, puffing, penguin, and I kind of learned a lot like that, really, because I don't know if you've ever been a giant costume.
At one point, that was good for us, because we don't have
Dressing up.
we must have.
No. But you know, when you're kind of in a costume, children really tell you all their secrets. So I used to hang out dressed up as, and kids used to tell me what they liked, what they didn't like, their best friends, what they liked to read. So I started working like that, and then I started working with authors, people like Roald Dahl, and that. You know, it taught me a lot about why children like books and the emotional. You know, because when you're a giant costume character, you're a bit like an author. You're a kind of secret friend of children. So yeah, that's my thought.
That's interesting. So basically, you studied
And then I started in marketing, doing more marketing, more promotion. And I started looking after particular authors. So I worked with Roald Dahl a lot. Okay. And we worked on how he wanted his books portrayed and promotion and marketing of those books. He taught me a lot of interesting things as well. Most of which I didn't understand at the time. He was an eccentric, very tall, very tall. And he had a thing about beards. He hated men with beards. Yeah, he said I was the inspiration for Mr. Twit. You know? And Mr. Twit is a bearded character. And Roald Dahl always used to tell me that I only had to eat one meal a day and I could just pick it up. So, but seriously, we were talking one day about why his books are so successful. He said that the thing to remember about children's books is that laughter is delayed fear. So the thing about humor is the way that we, making jokes, making laughter, making fun of people weapon that they have in the world. And so whether it's kind of knockabout humor or it's kind of humor that makes bullies look stupid, it's very influential. I think laughter is a complicated thing. I think it goes everywhere from falling over and making a fool of yourself to using humor as part of an argument. Or in Harry Potter, where dreadful things happen to you. Like humor is the way to cope with fear, And so I think in children's books, it's probably the most important thing. Next to the next most important thing, which is villains. Yeah, I think that's really important. It's important. Those big emotions, whether it's coziness and comfort, love. Or also very importantly, you remember when you were a child, that big feeling that you have, unfairness, you know, when something happens that makes you angry and you can't do anything about it. That's a big thing in children's books. And unfairness is a huge issue for children. Again, because they feel powerless. So yeah, those feelings, I think. Yeah, everybody remembers the villains, but nobody really remembers. Yeah, I did a little bit of editorial in that. Part of my job was to say what works with children. So sometimes in terms of the book selection, I would say yes or no, but really, I didn't do any editorial that when
You like give us like your first story like that's kind of way.
yeah, it's a cool story actually.
It's nice.
Bloomsbury was an adult publisher, and they wanted to start a children's. So they asked me to do like a marketing survey. So they said, "Would you do a survey for us to tell us whether we should?" So I did a report, and I had to go and stand up for the publishing company and say, "Yes, I think these are the things." And then I stopped in the middle, and I said, "And you know what? I can do this for you." And they said, "But you've never edited a children's book." I said, "No, but I know all about this. You just have to trust it."
Really?
And remarkably, they decided to let me start their children's book when I never ever wanted. So I started editing then, and I edit in a very different way. I started in about 1994. Yeah. So Bloomsbury let me start their children's book. And I don't edit traditionally because as I grew up being I think in a different way. I don't correct people's way of writing. So I say, just like you said, I say to people, this character isn't working. This emotion, I don't feel it. Why are we scared? I'm not scared. So I edit in a very reader-friendly way. So I edit in a very different way than most people.
Okay.
And I choose books differently.
Yes. Let's say like since 1994, right?
Well, I started the list. We started the list around about then, and I bought some boxes about 19.
It goes for one.
Really bad. Yeah, around about we published the first one I think in 1996.
Really? A lot of people like broke out like
It broke out late. Yeah, that's yeah. So we start normally we start editing a year before we publish.
So basically, if you start, we're going to means like one
of the first ones. We did a few titles beforehand, but it was in one of the first lists. And of course, that was a remarkable.
Now that you have already mentioned the house, so tell us a little bit about.
Well, it came to me. Just like a little. He didn't tell me, of course, that it's been turned down by every other publisher. Like a selling point. So I didn't know. So I read it one rainy night in London. I really liked it. It was long. It was by an unknown author, and it was about, I guess, wizards and magic and all that was not very popular at the time. But I love the storytelling, and I love the friendship, and I love the humor again. I thought it was funny.
So basically, straight to it, with humor, inspiration.
They're on the friendship, strong friendship.
Okay.
Yeah, between children.
So those are the first thing like you saw in the manuscript and felt like this how it is.
Yeah. As I felt again, like you said, I felt the emotional punch of the world. And that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the kind of books that children hug, you know?
Okay. Hi.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because we've all seen kids who walk around and say, I love that spot. And then that physical thing.
Can go work at the high. That's a nice one.
So yeah, so I made an offer the next day, a very low offer.
Oh, like after reading it, the next day you just decided to.
Yeah, I just rang up and we bought the first two. It's only the first one with an option to buy the second one.
Okay.
So yeah, so she Joe came down to London and we talked about the book, and she said, "How do you feel about the sequel?" I know, well, you know, do this first one. But then she told me the story, roughly how the whole thing. And I think we were very brave as a publisher. We agreed that Harry should grow up every year.
Okay.
And that was very different at the time. And yeah, and I had a little bit of an argument later on with her. I didn't really like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It was too difficult to title. Yeah, I can't remember what I wanted to call it, but anyway, I graciously accepted her if she really wanted. She said, the thing you've got to remember is that children like things they don't understand. So, yeah.
So at what point now that we mentioned as an editor, at what point can you, even if from your point of view you feel this is not going to work, at what point as an editor can you be flexible and compromise with
An author. I think it's a relationship. It's like your first boyfriend or girlfriend. It's important to trust each other and listen carefully to each other. So you know, it's always the author's book, but my job is to always look for alternatives and say, you know, I thought of it like this, and you thought of changing the point of view. If you thought whether this character should react in a different way, it's unbelievable. So I ask lots of questions and think about lots of alternatives. In the end, you know, it's the author who's either stimulated to change the story or stimulated not to change the story and say, no, I'm sorry, we want to keep it like that. So we did a little work, cut a little bit out of the middle of the first book because it was quite slow. And then we had a long conversation about the rules of Quidditch because I don't understand. We never quite got on with that.
Okay.
So years later, of course, there had a lot of problems breaking out the rules of Quidditch. Because I said to Joe, I said, the thing about it, I don't understand it, but we're running out of time. No one's ever going to play it. So let's just leave it.
Okay, that's nice. And how many total have you finally got to publish one series?
I edited the first one and mostly the second one. And then I left Bloomsbury by leaving a video. But I decided to leave Bloomsbury because I had a contract and I thought I really wanted to take the opportunity to move out of London and to start my own publishing company, which is what I do now. So I didn't want to carry on working for other people.
What? This
Well, I wish I could quite remember, but I must have left around about 1998, kind of end with things. So then I went off to begin to start my own company, Chicken House now. And we publish again, we publish loads of original great storytelling. I think what I like to feel as I carried on the tradition, carried on the really like going right.
Whether you carried on the roots still.
Carried on the risk, you know. That's more fun. And also carried on the editing of those first books because at that beginning of a career, you know, everything's just
So, basically, like, how does it feel? Let's say you start working hard with the first time, the second, and after you get the first international success, when it was an absence into the ministry, right?
well, it really started around about book 3 when it really started working, and in America as well. So it really started when they're published in America, and then it became huge before the movies. So yeah, it took about 6 months to start selling in a large way in Britain. Because it takes that amount of time. So, but yeah, then it was huge, and then the movies took it to a different level. Yeah, so I feel strange about it, really, because you know I still do. It's still an odd feeling because for a few months, Joe Rowling and I were the only third people in the world to know about Hogwarts, and it just feels weird. It feels like someone's. It's not. I'm really pleased about the success and everything, but it's almost like someone's taken away something and like made it into a theme park.
Yeah. So how is the relationship today with the
Yeah, well, I don't see her very often. We're very friendly, and sometimes we have to make sure that all stories around Harry Potter are the truth. There's lots of people tell stories that aren't. So yeah, so we're still friendly, and yeah, she's a megastar now, though. But I think she's always very nice about the way I gave her first chance. She always says that Harry Potter would still be living under the stairs if it wasn't for me.
Well, that's nice. That's really celebrated. And do you think she can give you some book? I like the book, like.
No, I think not. I think she's gone to a different level now. And she's busy writing adult crime books.
So now tell us a little bit. 1998, you was taking a risk. Now you're going into
Yeah.
Tell us like first, like what was the biggest challenge at first?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like, you know, as well, starting your own company is really difficult because when you work for big companies, it's a shock that no one picks up the post and you've got to take it and find a place. And I think the biggest, well, the nicest thing was for me that because I'd done so many of these other things, I felt confident in choosing the books. But then I had to learn about the business, you know, the cash flow. But we were lucky enough to be supported by Scholastic from the beginning.
Oh, so from the beginning,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, they took on our distribution in America.
oh, really?
We were the only independent list they ever took on. So
Okay.
that was great. So, you know, we were able to get our books sold around the world. So that was a big help. But I think the big challenge is always to keep your nerve. You know, because it's harder. And because people have never heard of your company, you know. But you know, I've it's been great. You know, I think nowadays, companies, small companies, are actually quite welcome because you know the big companies often make very similar books. And dare I say this, sometimes they're a little boring. Whereas people like you and I, we can publish books because so yeah, so I think it's been great. Love doing it.
You start out as sale or another part like a founder?
Yeah, we started with just 3 of us, and someone else is looking after the design, which is a very important thing, and foreign rights. So we even now we only have a team of 9 of them, and we all work together on the project. So we talk about covers and we talk about promotion from the moment we buy a book. So everything is kind of integrated together.
Okay. Um, so now, how many titles you can out or you
We
publish?
do about 25 a year, so not a huge number. That's about half original book. Half
And
second
five
or third.
titles are here.
Yeah, 25 titles.
Not bad.
Yeah, well, it's not as big as some. So we have a backlist of a few hundred now. So
Oh,
So, yeah.
So by now, like you have
yeah, it's nearly 20 years now. Actually. So yeah, not everything stays in print, But we have a core backlist of a few hundred books that sell really well.
Okay.
And we have about 20 to 25 ones.
Okay.
So and we sell around the world. We sell in America, and we sell in Australia, and we sell in Germany. We have a company.
Okay.
And we just sell books in Africa.